The Champions 2024 bundle is about to release in Valorant, but should you buy it? Obviously, we can all agree that spending $70 or whatever the equivalent is for you on some skins in a free game is hard to justify. But in terms of Valorant and some of the other skin bundles we've seen, how does this one compare when we look at what it actually offers for the price point? I'll focus on just the Phantom first before talking about the knife, and then wrapping up with the bundle as a whole. The Champions 2024 Phantom is a solid addition to all the other rifles in this collection. I'm hesitant to call it the best due to recency bias, but the only thing I don't like about it is how minimal the difference is between kills, as it's just the VCT logo on the gun slowly filling up. With previous years it felt a lot more dynamic and you could really see the progress, whereas on this Phantom it's really easy to miss. In contrast to that though, I do think that the end transformation, or the final form if you will, is the coolest yet on this rifle. You can hardly go wrong with gold, and the cracked texture is a nice touch to match the Champions trophy. Another aspect of this Phantom I love is the finisher. It may not be quite as dramatic or grand scale as some of the others, but I do prefer the way you can interact with the asteroids and the detail of the actual agents you killed being the ones in the supernova. Having said all that though, this is the equal second most expensive Phantom skin in the game at roughly 2,675 Valorant points. Some notable cheaper options are things like Recon or Reaver at 1,775 Valorant points. Then more recently you've even got Near Frontier and Miss Bloom at 2,175 Valorant points. Those are just some more popular and cheaper options you might want to take into account before you jump to buying this one. The price of course isn't totally unjustified in Valorant terms, as the Champions 2024 bundle is only going to be available once. After that it will not return in your store or your night market. If you're missing the other Champions cosmetics and you regret that, maybe you want to pick up this Phantom in that case. Next we come to the knife, which is an improvement over last year, although that's not saying much. Up until this point, it's always been smaller knives like karambits and butterfly knives for champions, so it's cool to see them doing something bigger. It'll come down to personal preference of whether or not you like the blade style of melees in Valorant. You know, some people just aren't a fan of it taking up more of your screen, but I myself don't really mind it. This knife does have some new animations with the inspect and right click, so those are pretty cool. However, this blade should cost 5,350 Valorant points on its own, which is insanely expensive for just one skin. At that point, you may as well just cough up the extra 1,000 Valorant points to throw in the Phantom skin, as well as the body and other cosmetics that come with this collection. Speaking of the gun body, it actually turns out you can sort of choose what body appears on the blade. Some of the pro players got access to the bundle early, and from Dorkmo's stream, it seems like it'll just match whatever body you have equipped to your Phantom skin. I believe that will only be the case if you have the new Champions Phantom equipped, but I couldn't confirm that for sure. Another thing I noticed is that the base level for the blade is really clean. And if you aren't a fan of all the upgraded sound effects or animations, this might honestly be one of those knives you leave at level 1 from time to time. For the bundle as a whole, we're looking at roughly 6,200 Valorant points for the price. For an exclusive tier Phantom and knife skin, I don't think that this is too bad. And we are of course talking about the Champions tier of skins. They're special and only available at one point in time, so they're always going to be a cut above the rest in terms of price. I think this year the bundle as a whole is looking like a more tempting option, at least compared to last year, mostly because of the improvement in terms of knife skin, and again, you never want to buy a knife skin on its own if you can help it. If you aren't a fan of the blade though, maybe you don't like the bigger knives, you could save yourself a few thousand points and just get the Phantom skin instead. If you already have a few Phantom skins, getting this new one might be hard to justify because it honestly does sound sort of similar to Ion, but personally I think the skin as a whole is different enough and I will definitely be picking up the bundle myself. So for a final definitive statement, this is a great Champions bundle and I would argue it is better than some of the previous years. So if you regret missing out on the previous bundles and actually use the Phantom enough, you should buy this bundle. With all that being said though, that is just my opinion at the end of the day, so let me know what you guys think of this bundle in the comments, whether it is worth it or not, and what you're planning on picking up from it, if anything.